We are going to talk about artificial intelligence and perhaps its huge impact on the unemployment rate, driving a need for affordable housing. Where does this conversation come from? Well, I was lucky enough to be at an event in Orlando with Pace Morby. Pace Morby led off by highlighting the fact that he believes artificial intelligence will drastically increase the unemployment rate. We are talking all the way up to double digits. He talked about Uber drivers and delivery folks and robots and all of these things. And thus, everybody should be focused on affordable housing. My question for Matt, as someone who is in tech, has worked in artificial intelligence like myself, at least on the software side, not robots, but software side. I wanted to see if he had the same dire outlook. And if so, what should we be doing? All right, buddy, how you doing? Is AI going to, I don't know, take unemployment to 10%? Are we going to be on UBI, universal basic income? Are we going dystopia and nobody has to work anymore and robots do everything?
Those are three aggressive questions, Michael. So I'll take them one at a time. So is it going to create massive disruption? Absolutely. Is it going to create disruption to the point of 10% unemployment? Probably.
Wow. So you're in Pace's camp.
I am definitely. Yep. I worked enough. So
let's play with that a little bit. I'm going to take the other side. We're going to steel man that.
Yeah.
Because again, when I heard, so again, you and I are boys, Pace and I are friends.
Yep.
So I guess let me ask this: how fast? Like, are we talking in the next 90 days? Are we talking in the next 3 years?
Yes.
I mean, like how? Okay, so 3 years from now, you foresee an environment where we have 10% or more people unemployed because of AI.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Yeah, because so let's give credentials. So 17 years I sold RPA, which is the precursor to AI. And I sold AI for years after that. And I was also part of literally hundreds of deployments of product like this.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that AI makes RPA, which is robotic process automation versus artificial intelligence. RPA being the precursor to that, it was basically an instruction engine. You would tell it how to work. You would tell it what the job is, and then it would go.
And then it would just do it. Yeah.
Correct. But you would often need one person to manage, let's say, 10 bots.
Sure. Because you can tweak them, maintenance, change this, change that.
Tweak, maintenance, make sure it's continued doing right. Make sure when the application gets upgraded, that your application gets upgraded and automations get upgraded. Yeah. But you could get away with, 1 to 10 ratio, 1 to 7 ratio. You could get away with that.
Makes sense.
Now, with bots being far more resilient, applications being far more, and largely being far more consistent, it's now more like 1 to 20 or 30 or maybe even 40, where you can have one person managing that environment. So that was a change over the last decade or so. Okay. Where AI then jumps in is it's the much smarter uncle of RPA. And so now you can actually do a whole lot more jobs, like IBM laying off, I believe it was 800 HR people. Yeah. Hey, HR, by the way, how's that feel?
Yeah, that hurts. Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. So HR, 800 people getting laid off because they figured out AI for 85 to 90% of that function.
Sure.
I think very often as we look at it, when you get into the digital age, now all the data that's being used, touched, managed, manipulated, that's digitally created. Well, now that's a digital solution to managing that data and the processing of that data and the posting of that data. So when you break that paper to digital barrier, there's that much more digital that has to occur. Well, that feeds right into AI and feeds right into RPA.
Yeah. So I understand. So I agree with you. It's going to be highly disruptive. No question. Yeah. I don't know how that doesn't happen. But to be clear, I'm not in the camp that disruption leads to 10% unemployment. That's just, I can't make that leap. Now, again, I'm not doing that from a great stance of confidence, right? Because I could see it happening, right? We've all seen the sci-fi movies where nobody has to work anymore and life is, great. However, I've studied innovation long enough, right? There was a time when, the horse and buggy is how we got around, and people thought, that change would destroy the economy. And I remember somebody saying I forget who it was, right? There'd only ever be 7 computers in the world. And, and more specifically, I remember the .com era saying, this is going to end everything. And
Sure.
at least in all the other circumstances, there were certainly jobs disrupted and disappeared, no question.
Mhm.
But when you look at the totality of the work units, it's always increased. And the more work units, the more people. So, I just don't know why this time will be different.
Because I think the work units go down. So it's in the past, it's the one to many. So where you had RPA, which was 1 to 7, and then it was 1 to 20, and then it was 1 to 30, and then it was 1 to 40, right? It's capacity. And so on the AI side, when you have these massive systems with these massive models, what ends up happening is that they can take out 800 people and keep 100. So in the past, when there was always, of those 800 that would be let go in the past, they would need hundreds of them to stay on to make the transition to the next thing and then to manage the next thing. That's where I think the biggest difference is in this one, is that, you look at the internet and you needed network admins and guys that could set up networks and guys that could manage servers, and you needed all that stuff.
Well, let's actually talk about an area you and I have decades of experience in, and that is software development.
Yeah.
Right. Again, credentials, right? I was on a sales and go-to-market side of the equation, and I took 3 products from 0 to 100 million. So no slouch. When I think about the development cycle and sales teams and product marketing and all of that, and I look at what AI could do, the 10x developer and, all of that stuff. There's a lot of talk about, developers, 20, 30, 40% of folks not being needed, which again, I think is not seeing the point. I think what we're going to have is faster and more robust development cycles.
Agreed.
So, the pipe used to be this big to get stuff in production. Now maybe the pipe's this big. And we actually don't have less developers. We actually might have more, because what I've seen, at least currently, is, the system could write code, but it may not work. It needs to be tweaked. You don't want to go to production that way. And I think what's going to happen. So that's one thing, right? I think developers, I was initially in the camp. It's like, oh my God, who would get a computer science degree today? I mean, what a complete crazy idea. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, the old computer science entry-level job, I get that's just AI.
Correct.
However, if you now layer on top of that prompt engineering and these other components, you're actually more valuable.
Yeah, I think that, so as AI gets more intelligent, it replaces from the bottom up.
Correct. I would agree with that. Yes.
So it replaces from the bottom up. So what I believe is going to be happening is I like Mark Benioff. I think he's a brilliant man.
Yeah.
He worked with and for those of you who don't know, he runs one of the largest software as a service companies in the world called Salesforce.com. And he was from Oracle, where he was really good friends with Larry Ellison, who is top 5 richest guys in the world. So Mike and I know all these guys' names. We could just say Larry, and he and I know what we're talking about. And it could be Larry from Google now, I guess.
Yeah, Brim. Yeah, it could be Larry. That's exactly what I was thinking. There's 2 now.
Yeah. But as you look at it, what I believe is going to happen is I think that it will replace from the bottom up. And so it's going to replace a lot of those entry jobs. So guys aren't going to be able to get elite at that, because they're going to miss all of the beginning steps of becoming elite.
Okay.
Because you can't short circuit. That will short circuit if you can't get through all those steps of, I want to talk to the developer who's really gifted, who's been in it for 10 years, not the really gifted developer who's been in it for 2. The problem is how are they going to work their way through the food chain? That's the first thing. Second thing is, I believe that it's going to be so massive. Like, there's companies like Whatnot that are almost completely run by AI.
Yeah.
All their customer service, all of that stuff. And so I think that that's what's going to continue to tweak, is that people will be running with skeleton crews. And so I don't think that it's the end of civilization. I just think that it's going to be a much higher, much longer sustained until people can find the real skill sets and gaps that are needed. That's why any kid that I talk to, hey, listen, unless you're passionate about being a broke entrepreneur for a lot of times and hoping it eventually comes true, unless you're that, get into the trades, because that's the thing that's going to be replaced last.
Yeah.
It will get replaced, but it will be replaced last, because most of those robot things you see online, most of that's AI. Yeah. The ones that are like doing tile work and sheetrock and things like that. But those are skills, but those pay well. Why are plumbers making $150 an hour now?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you brought this up because I just posted on the Daily Financial News. Only 35% of American adults think college is, uh, a great thing. That's down from like 70% in 2010. So
Yep,
I think Gen Z, and I've said this publicly, I think Gen Z is going to be the first generation that gets it. They're not
I
going to
agree.
college because
I agree.
they were just told to, right?
Yep.
That's what my parents did to me, right? Go to school, get a good job, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
College is not that for lots of people, and I think college is way too expensive. You can't declare bankruptcy and discharge debt. I think universities have gotten high on the hog because the federal government is
Yes,
involved, and
totally agree.
it's not cool. So yeah, I think Gen Z is going to say F college if they don't have a plan or a passion, right? If you want to be a doctor, college. You want to be a lawyer, college. You want to be,
Of course.
there are professions where it will be, but I think we're going to have a lot less colleges soon because again, I think on that front, I think AI, right? You can learn so much with AI. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
done this, right? You're
I
that
have.
kind of guy that gets into into a topic and you just go deep.
Yeah.
So I think you can learn anything today. The last thing I'll say about AI disruption
Hmm.
is on the positive side because I think a lot of what we've talked about here has been pretty negative. The thing that I think is going to be positive, and you brought it up with a company called Whatnot, I think you said it was,
Yeah.
is I think there's going to be a lot more companies created
Yes.
because of AI, and there'll be a
Yes.
lot more 1, 2, 5, 10 person companies.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a beautiful thing. I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a net positive for the country. And I think that could be where a lot of these folks go, is they
Hmm.
just go solve niche problems.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, right? Owning your own company if that's your passion. So that's something I think is coming.
Yeah. Guys that are really elite at AI already, they're getting offers from these AI companies for 400,000, 500,000, 600,000 bucks a year.
Do
Michael,
you
tell
see
me the
that?
last.
Do you see that Zuckerberg offered this one elite person $100 million package? That's
Told you.
like NBA
Yeah.
money. Like,
Well, this is
damn.
the thing, right?
Yeah.
Think about it this way. Like the guys that always made the money in the past were the sales guys, the ones who actually could foster a transaction, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now you're
Amen
seeing
to
these.
that.
Yeah, now you're seeing the breach. Now
Preach.
you're seeing, yeah, I got to deal with some jerk consultant for the next 6 months who has no clue what they're doing, but
Yeah.
he's the one recommending. Can't wait to
Yeah.
spend time with that guy.
That
You
guy's a
know,
lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah. So, but that's the thing that people miss is that I think, there's a lot of money pouring into AI. There's hundreds of billions of dollars on the sideline, trillions of dollars on the
Probably
sidelines.
trillions. Yeah.
People that are getting the chance to go in. Zuck's not stupid. He's like, I know that the next wave is that, and I need to be ahead of all my competition there. He's clearly a forethinker. I can get him all the resources in the world that he needs. And that 100 million is a blip
Oh
based
yeah.
on where he can get me. Because look at the valuation of like OpenAI. But
Yeah.
as you look at the different models, people need to understand what that AI is pulling from. It's pulling from the data that it has access to.
Mhm.
So unless you know how to use it, you just got to take a simple little course, but at least learn a little bit how to use it.
Yep.
But it's scary with how powerful that something can get. Is it Skynet? We'll see.
Yeah.
Might be, but it's one of those things that's going to absolutely be disruptive. And I think that there's a lot of worlds too. Like I looked at opening up a Sonic, the
Mhm.
restaurant,
Yep.
opening up a Sonic, loved it, and we're in an area where we have lots of college kids. So I looked at opening up that business. The biggest issue that I found was going to be labor.
Hmm.
So I've put that idea on hold for 10 years until I can have one person managing 10 kiosks and
Mm.
all of the cooks in the back are robotic.
Wow. Okay.
When I can deploy that, I will buy a Sonic. I will do Sonics.
Nice.
But not
Okay.
until then, because the problem is the workers that you can get, the reliability of them, and how much they cost. It's
Yeah.
what makes value meals $14 now.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the end of the equation because again, Pace. This is again all credit to Pace Morby gave me the idea.
Sure.
Basically, he and you agree that
Yeah.
unemployment over the next 3 years could be 10%. The
Mhm.
punchline of this is if you're going to be investing in real estate, go after affordable housing,
Yep.
avoid Class A.
Yep.
And I was just curious, do you see that as the way to go? Because again, Pace is talking rent by room or
Yep.
co-living. He's
Yep.
talking trailer parks. He's talking very much affordable housing, Section 8. That's where people should be focused. Is that where you believe as well?
Yeah. So I started that strategy 15 years ago when I got into AI and RPA. So I own over 20% of the units in my cities, I own over 20% of the 5-bedroom units.
Got it.
That's what I did. So I would buy units because a lot of times it's counterintuitive, right? I don't want to buy a 5-bedroom unit.
Yeah,
Holy Lord, who's going to fill that?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, so we did it 3 ways. First way we did it was with college students. Second way we did it was young professionals. Third way we're going to do it is when things start to take grip and we start to see higher unemployment, we're going to see co-living of families in these units. Sad, but I think that we could get to that for a time period. And when we do, they're going to need space, and I've got space.
Yeah. Again, folks, one of the things that is certainly true, AI is coming. It will be disruptive. Maybe I'm too hopeful, too blind. I certainly hope we don't get to 10% unemployment. I've been there in my life. It's not fun for the economy. But again, if you are an investor, one of the things you should be looking at is affordable housing, whether it be co-living, trailer parks, Section 8, whatever that is for you in your market. Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me, Lumberjack Landlord, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday nights, where we talk about anything you guys want to talk about. I am there as a service to the community to answer whatever questions about real estate investing you might have.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.